Well, I believe it is now official that MT GOX has filed for bankruptcy protection. And I believe that was Friday. So they had a photograph, and I don't know if it was from Friday or some other day recently, but some protesters have been outside of the MT GOX headquarters, which I believe is in Japan, with signs such as "Where is my money? Where is our money?" etc., things like that. And I see a protester, it's a still photograph from Associated Press or whatever it was, and they're sitting there holding a sign in front of the entrance to MT GOX, and it says, "Where is our money?" And then I'm like, who is this little chubby looking kid with his filthy Frappuccino double latte whipped cream on top drink? He looks like he might be one of these kind of a nerdy looking chubby kid. Maybe he's one of the protesters, And no, I keep reading, man holds up a sign asking where our money is as CEO such and such, I forget his name, walks into MT GOX. Wait a minute, that's the CEO? It's basically a chubby nerd, again, with his double filthy rotten latte, double whipped cream on top, cancer in a cup. Well, yeah, that was him. So once again, I start thinking, J. Snip 4's train of thought doesn't, as I did the other day, we had out of 8 congressmen, 6 of them were black, and they wanted to change the law to where treason and other activities are not, you cannot get the death penalty for that. And I said, I wonder why they want to do that. You don't think some of them are going to be nailed for treason in the near future, do you? And I would just make an example there showing an example that it doesn't matter what color people are. It doesn't matter if they were dirt poor when they were younger. Once they get in that position of power, they think the same way as the rest of them. Corruption. It's all about me, etc. And this goes on for everybody. Women, men, white, black, nerds, jocks, you name it. Right? The jock story here is, if you saw this the other day, out of New Jersey, some politician there looked like he was right out of the mafia, which you kind of can put those two together because politicians act like the mafia. But they basically, some kind of news story they were running, and it had nothing to pertain to this guy's being investigated for some kind of illegal campaign contributions or something. So the news reporter, little skinny guy, changed the subject on him and asked about it, can you comment on that, whatever. No, I have nothing else to say, walks off. And the camera was still rolling. He comes back, whispers into the reporter's ear, and it got caught on audio. And he says a few things to him, but you can hear him say, "If you ever say something like that and embarrass me like that again, I'll throw you off this effing balcony." And they were on top of the second story inside this building where there was a balcony. They could just flip them right over. "If you ever embarrass me or talk about that again like that to me, I'll throw you off this effing balcony." This is a voted-in politician speaking to one of his servants. Not his servant. Really, he's the servant. Technically, we're the boss, right? We tell them what to do. How dare the servant speak to the boss that way? Well, no, the servant has the power, because once you vote the servant in, they're supposed to remain the servant, but the servant all of a sudden becomes a power-tripping bastard. So I was actually amazed to see this little, short, chubby-looking, like a young man. Like, what do you mean CEO of MT GOX? Like, what? Whoa. This is like, look, he was 20-something years old. And it's possible that he was, and he set up MT GOX and all that strictly for Bitcoin and everything else like that. All currencies, cryptocurrencies and whatnot, altcoins. Remember, he was one of the ones that sat on this little board meeting at one point when they started up Bitcoin and all that, and they said, "We want you to be like our representative, so to speak, on the exchanges. We want you to be one of the founding exchanges." Oh, sure, I would love to. And now somewhere, last time I heard, it was over 600,000. Original report was 750,000. But the latest I've heard was that it was over 600,000 Bitcoins are simply gone. They've vanished. So think about this. Young little bastard. Yeah, I'm making good money on this exchange. They wrote, when they went to bankruptcy court, they wrote down that they had somewhere around $65 million US dollars worth of outstanding debt, basically. And half of that in assets. So about 30-something million in assets. Okay? That's like the typical story of all of our banks. They have way more debt and way less assets. But they get bailed out and no one else does. So, do you think there's going to be a bailout for Bitcoin holders? Got to keep that market. Hey, government, you said you got to keep that market stable at all costs. Bitcoin's a market. Even though it competes with your US dollar currency. You want to keep that stable? No, we'll let them fail. Not too big to fail. Matter of fact, there's a new label for Bitcoin exchanges. Too small to care. But, as I read that article, so-and-so, a gaming programmer, says he had 100 Bitcoins. Blah, blah, blah. Another whatever guy said he had 200 Bitcoins and would like to know, or has currently hired a lawyer in Japan to see what they can do about his loss of 200 Bitcoins. And I'm thinking, when this happened, Bitcoin was pushing $1,000 an ounce. About saying an ounce. $1,000 per Bitcoin. $1,000 times 200 Bitcoins is $200,000. 200 times 1,000, $200,000. That just went down the tubes. Now, granted, in the big scheme of things, you didn't really lose anything. I mean, this digital thing out of the ether that most of these people had collected when it was brand new, and they mined themselves with basic computer hardware, it almost cost them nothing. Maybe a few $100s potentially when this first came out. Because early on, they were very easy to mine. You didn't have to have these amazing graphics cards and then go to the next step of the ASIC devices and all. There's people who had probably hundreds of Bitcoins back then with almost no real computer hardware. So that's the side that at least tells you, God, this doesn't hurt as bad as if I just lost really $200,000 that I put into something and then it got stolen. So again, this little young man, what do you think really happened to these Bitcoin? They probably sat around scheming, wondering, how can we pretend that this thing got hacked, even potentially give somebody that they know the codes to get into the whole damn system and really hack it legitimately. And I say legitimately, meaning they were given the access to do so. That way, they're off the hook. Hey, we got hacked. We don't know what happened. They erased all the logs and this and that, and we don't know. And they're trying to hide that, trail. And the fact that they're the only exchange that has had this issue, no other exchange has ever had anything like this, and there are a few others, reeks of wrongdoing. So they've officially declared bankruptcy. This is John Corzine all over again, MF Global. In a sense, right? You took your allocated accounts holders or Bitcoin holders who left their Bitcoins in your allocated account or online exchange. You've done something with them. Claim you don't know anything. I'm not sure what happened. We just know they were hacked. Blah, blah, blah. When internal records show back in the MF Global days that you did know what happened and you did authorize everything that happened. So all the people's money who got lost or stolen by you was okayed by you, Mr. John Corzine, who is now heading, he is the head of the Obama Myra account bonds that they were talking about the other day. That system, in retirement account, that's the latest I've heard, that John Corzine is going to head that. Talk about the worst possible person, just like in the CFTC, the Security Exchange Commission, all these regulators, they get the worst possible people. They get the criminals themselves who have blatantly broken the law to then run it and say they're the smartest guys in the room, we need them over here. No, that's what you call a criminal cover-up, criminal activity. we got to have our guys in here to cover up everything else. And when they leave, we need another one of our guys to continue the cover up. Because if we get a real person in here, they're not going to cover it up, and they're going to press charges immediately. So we can't have that. So we just have to keep putting our people in power. And that's what they've been doing. So, am I shocked that MF Global, I might as well call it MF Global, that MT GOX filed bankruptcy? Not in the least likely little bit of a way, no. So, figured that's newsworthy. Is it going to affect the price of Bitcoin? Like I said, if that would happen, what would happen? It barely affected the price, and it pretty much rebounded right away. So, now let's see what happens. Are we going to get back to $900,000 plus for Bitcoin? And the answer is possibly yes. Yes, that could happen. So here I am, Monday morning, thinking, well, it's a Monday morning. It's 9:11 in the morning. And I've got to get this truck put in my name, the license plate, in the title. So I'm trying to do that. And I'm looking around at the massive amount of cars here, also early in the morning. And I'm thinking, well, if I did this at lunchtime when everyone else has free time, they're going to be down here swamped. So let me go here during business hours where people should be at work, myself included, but I did tell everybody at work I'm coming to do this. And it looks like it's freaking swamped. So I'm about to go in here, and if there's a major wait, I'm coming back and I'm going to work. So take care.